What is up, everybody, and welcome back. And today I have a very special guest for you, one of my good friends. She has been a killer in the commercial real estate game, been doing it for decades now. Her name is Alicia Shepard. She is also the founder and owner of Nucleus, which is a coaching program specifically designed to help commercial real estate agents with their marketing and really trying to help them move the needle and really build and find success in their commercial real estate career. Alicia, thank you so much for coming on. You're
Hey,
so awesome for doing this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
absolutely. I'm excited to do it. I think commercial and marketing are things we don't put on the same dance floor nearly often enough. So,
Oh, I love that you said that. I love that you said that because that's actually going to be the topic of today's conversation. All right. So let me peel apart the onion real quick to, I think, a common problem that I think most commercial agents have. And that is they feel that marketing has been cannibalized by the residential industry. They feel that commercial agents don't get enough love the way that residential does. And I want to take some time and really dissect this with you and really debunk it, because I think at the end of the day, the brand of a commercial agent is just vitally as important as the brand of a residential real estate agent. So I want to kick off the conversation today and really throw this question at you. Alicia, if you don't mind, can you drop some knowledge for me? Can you really break down the importance and really the strategy of marketing as it has to do with commercial real estate?
absolutely. I'm going to start first with kind of like what is the experience of a commercial real estate that's different from residential, and why is that important to this conversation, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Go for it. Go ham.
Even when you go to get your license, they lay it out in two ways. As you're getting licensed, they say a residential agent will typically do more transactions, but at a lower price point per year. And a commercial agent is typically going to do fewer transactions with a higher price point per year, right? Like I very readily raised my hand to be commercial because I read between those lines and I heard, you want me to do more work for smaller paychecks or less work for larger paychecks. That's not a true statement, and yet that's kind of is how it works out. You do end up doing fewer transactions, but there's a lot more legwork that goes into each, right? And so why is marketing vital to that experience? Unlike my residential colleagues, I may not have 30, 40, 50, 60 deals a year that I'm able to leverage to put my brand out into the marketplace just through authentic like movement and activity in the market, right? I don't always have a new listing or always have a new sale, always have a new something to talk about. I can't set open houses as a marketing event. You can, but they look a little bit different. It's just a different amount of exposure that my pipeline is going to create for me, right? Mm-hmm. In commercial, a 7-figure earning commercial agent might do 8 to 10 deals in a year. In a market like Los Angeles, where we are, they might also, be in other parts of country doing 30 or 40, and yet their residential agents to hit the same kind of income are going to have to do so much more. And because of that imbalance of market visibility through our pipeline, I think it's not just an option, but it's vital that a commercial agent be really intentional with the marketing that they're going to put behind themselves to support how they're growing their business. Ooh, and so, you brought up this great statement of commercial agents kind of feel like it's all designed for residential agents. And I would say for the most part, commercial agents have sat back and said, it's not for me. It's not designed for me. So I must not need to pay attention to it, probably more out of an effort to avoid understanding an intricate model rather than running forward into something and learning how to do it. I think there's a lot of marketing opportunity for commercial agents, and you've been one of my best allies in figuring those out.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And thank you for that. But you said something, and I actually want to unpack that a little bit more, because you said that like, oh, it's all kind of canned for residential. It's not for me, but you said like, hey, you need to unpack this. And I think one of the key components in that, and I think what's become vitally important, especially in commercial, is the message. And I think that often gets lost a lot. Do you have any insight on that? Like if we're talking about marketing and kind of breaking through the right message of the particular type of listing that you're looking for, a product that you're trying to offer, is there any nuance that you can maybe shed some light on for the people?
Yeah. I think when I look at marketing around commercial real estate, the pieces that hit me the most or that engage me the most are the ones that understand what's keeping the client up at night. And how do you put that into a marketing piece to create solutions versus just like say, I have a new listing and it's all about me. Like there's,
oh God, I love it. I love that you said that.
There's a lot of that marketing. And I think we all can agree like that marketing is probably not in service to our clients and like bringing the most good to create the most help. Right. Exactly. The marketing that I think is most influential, and through my eyes at least, when I look up in my marketplace and I look around at what the colleagues around me are doing, are the ones who really say, here's what I understand about this piece of real estate. Here's what I understand about what the financial opportunity in this piece of real estate is, or what the potential of rehabbing or repositioning this real estate is. And here's the impact I think it would have on a new owner and on a tenant. And that's a little bit different than what we might do for a home, right? It's really understanding a full narrative of what the current reality of that real estate is and what the opportunity it creates for someone's financial legacy has the chance to be. And that's the messaging I think is most important for commercial real estate agents to really just own that we're the storytellers of that. Not storytellers as in like make up the data and make up the numbers, but storytellers of how do we convey the data and convey the numbers that are authentic in such a way that it helps people realize where they have a chance to thrive through that real estate.
Oh my gosh, you're talking my love language because it's all about turning data into stories. And that's like, I love preaching that because data to one person is just in one ear, out the other. But if you can turn that data into something compelling, it'll stick. And oh man, that's like you're just making all the bells in my head chime. Okay, let me ask you this. In terms of just strategic approach for marketing for commercial, is there something that you think that most agents should focus on versus what they're seeing in the residential space? And I hate to make these constant comparisons between commercial and residential, but I feel like that's what most commercial agents do. They end up looking at what's happening in residential and they're like, well, I don't want to do that. That doesn't fit my need. That doesn't fit my marketing message, but they don't really know. It
feels too resi. Yeah. I hear that one at least.
Yeah. Like what is the best step forward for an agent that's in commercial that is like, I need to brand myself? Like, what would your opinion be if you were going to advise them?
I love that. I'm gonna give you two separate answers because there's two paths that are both accurate and both highly effective, right? And that's not to say there's only two paths. I'm just saying in my world, the experiences I've had, I've seen these two options work really well for the agents that I'm involved with. One is I'm going to talk about the specialist, someone who is really deep diving into a product, a territory, and location, right? And that's really farming at the end of the day. It's what our residential agents would call farming. So you take a database and you are just going to eat, breathe, and sleep this community until you are the agent of choice in your product type, right? Yep. And so that marketing plan to me looks like persistency and consistency, or just time on task over time, where you're monthly sending them something in the mail, you're biweekly sending out an email campaign, you're uploading the contacts and ownership of the properties you serve in that neighborhood into Facebook and seeing how you can get direct ad messaging right onto their pages. Right. And like I was working with a coaching client earlier today and he was like, I'm not going to Facebook market my new listing. And I said, do you have a list of all the potential buyers that you believe are like the best? He's like, I got 120 of them. I said, great. What's their average age range? He was probably like 50 to 60. And I said, and do you think most of them have grandkids at this point? And he goes, yeah, definitely. Like a lot of them do. If not, they at least have like kids or like young hot wives. One of these scenarios is right. And all of these scenarios are the reasons people have a social media page to engage in those experiences of their life. And what we've learned to be true is that you can take those lists, direct upload them into Facebook. Facebook will go hunt down their pages for you and put those ads on those sophisticated, like specific pages that you're looking for. That works in my world. Like I look at that and I say, you're going to give me direct access to the people in my database that own the exact real estate I want to be in service to. I can social media market to that all day. And they're not being bombarded by my competitors there because most of my competitors are stuck in the mindset of that's not for me. Right. And so in a farm, it's just having like a strategy and then being married to it for a while, for like a year or two. Mm-hmm. Don't mess with it and like keep pivoting it and moving it and stopping and starting. You got to get married to it. If I'm not a farmer, I'm going to be more of a generalist who kind of goes where the client takes me. then that looks like constantly telling the story. And you could do this in the farm methodology too, of like, where have you been exceptional at creating opportunity for the clients that you serve? So if you're working with buyers, what was the investment creation that you introduced that buyer to? What was the financial legacy you're helping them create? What did you do that really like helped keep a pulse on the market in a way that on their own or through another agent who maybe didn't show up with as much care and candor as you did? Where did you improve their investment experience, and how do you tell that story? I think that one has to be on social media if you're going to follow where the client goes, because otherwise your return on investment for like phone calls, which is, that's the ride or die marketing strategy of a commercial real estate agent, is just smile and dial all day. And I love it. It's a great methodology, yet marketing gives us the ability to get online and to be more of sharpshooters with that. And I think if you're going to be a generalist, you have to have a really robust social media game plan through strategic social media sites. Like, I'm starting to be bought off on Instagram a little bit in the commercial space, just because older demographics are moving there. And like, my average ideal client is between the age of 40 and 47. So like, before, were they on Instagram at a heavy pace? Probably not. But during COVID, I think they found their way there. And so that changes. But LinkedIn has always been a great resource for investment marketing. Facebook, really strategic, and it works. It's where you can build relationships. And that was something, years ago, whether you knew it or not, you influenced me enough to get into social media with a certain mindset around my database.
Sorry.
So, no, it was amazing. It was amazing. And so, you helped me realize like everyone's got a profile there. So you don't have to go to it to be their agent. You go to it to be their friend. And that really resonated with this mindset of, my clients are my friends and my friends are my clients. So I had my assistant go through my database and go look for every single owner that I had on Facebook to find their personal page and just send a friend request from me.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so sexy. I love that. 30%
of my database, by the way, did have pages and did say, yeah, I'll be her friend. And we've become friends on Facebook. I've sold more buildings for people that I got to know on Facebook first before they would take a meeting with me, because I took that approach, right? Like, it doesn't have to look like we think it has to look. It doesn't always have to be a marketing strategy. Maybe it's a relationship strategy through a marketing lens.
100%. Oh my God. Like, you are dropping. So as you're talking, I'm like writing down notes. Like, because I'm like, oh, you said something great. Oh, you said a couple more.
I'm on my fourth cup of coffee today, Amanda.
Yeah. Oh, you're killing it. Okay, give me what you're drinking. But to your point, you're absolutely right in that, because I think there's so much nuance that's often overlooked with the fact that you need to become a friend in order to convert that person into a client. No one wants to work with a complete stranger. It's like the whole part of like rapport building. Like, if you're gonna get on the phone and start doing calls and grinding out, 3 hours worth of calls, the first step isn't to try to sell them. The first step is to build rapport and become a friend, like to feel like, or to build that relationship, to feel like, hey, we can work together. I'm vibing with you. I can jive with you. You can jive with me. Hey, let's see what we can do to make things happen. Oh my gosh. And I just want to say that you said something about being laser focused with the Facebook ads that it just dinged in my head. I remember I was watching, by the way, love him or hate him, or indifferent about him, Grant Cardone says you have to build omnipresence. And the way I always look at it is like, you have to have an omnipresence of eyeballs. And one of the benefits of Facebook ads and their ability to be able to laser focus on your ideal customers is that because of the algorithm, it gives you that omnipresence of eyeballs to the right people. So you're not sending out, 10,000 postcards to a neighborhood, realizing that, hey, you're probably like, it's probably only 2% of that neighborhood that are actually your viable avatar, your viable client, which I think is key. All right. Here's something that I want you to unpack for me that you said, and I think people should really understand how to approach this. And that is identifying the ideal client. Like you alluded to it, like, oh yeah, my particular demographic is between this age and this age. How does a commercial agent identify that? Or do they, because it feels, and quite honestly, whenever I talk to commercial agents, it's like, oh yeah, they're all in like the 50 plus and up club. And I need a website with font that's like this big in order to appease them. I feel like that's not true. So
it's not true. Yeah. 5-10 years ago, I would have said absolutely, right? Yeah. That was one of those things is that it was like there was almost like a age of entry to being a client in the commercial real estate space. And I'll tell you, like the tech boom that's happened in the last decade, that we've really seen that like reinvention of what technology looks like and acts like in our lives has changed that demographic. And we are absolute fools on the commercial side if we assume that anyone who's a breathing adult doesn't have the opportunity to be an investor in commercial real estate. Like that's gap number one, because if I'm only marketing to my oldest part of my audience and I'm not grooming my next investors and teaching them how to become investors with me, I'm thinking really small. And so I want to just be really clear with that before I go into this like ideal client exercise. I think you have to define multiple ideal clients. Who's my current and my future ideal client, right? So for your current, it goes back to who are you in service to? And that's based on what are you going to be in service as? If I'm an agent in the commercial space who sells everything, does sales and leasing, it's hard to pin down who my ideal client is because I haven't pinned down who I'm an ideal service provider for. And if I don't have clarity internally on what am I willing to show up as and be the best at, then I can't ask for the expectation out of the market for people to raise their hand and say, that's the best person for me to work for. I got to put more clarity behind that. So I think, the first question in that exercise comes to what product type will you specialize in and what service will you specialize in? And if you can go even one step further and say, what geographic location am I going to specialize in? Now you're getting the recipe together to really like bake this off and make something real out of it. Right? If we don't have all the components to make a loaf of bread, I'm not going to make a loaf of bread. If I don't have all the components to identify an avatar, I'm shooting myself in the foot before I ever start. And I'm going to just live in paralysis analysis because I don't have the data to actually pull this through. Exactly. And so, you got to know who you're going to serve by what product, what service, and ideally what location. As I did that exercise, and I didn't do it myself, I had a coach early on. Because I was really, really clear. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I knew a coach would help me figure that out. As I did that exercise, I realized I wanted to be in service to Venice Beach, California. So like I drilled down, I'm gonna focus on Venice Beach. And then it went even further. Like I'm gonna only sell commercial properties within Venice Beach. It started out just multifamily, but there were only about 900 multifamily properties. And I was looking for a database of somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000, right? Well, if I do all commercial properties, I got just over 2,100 properties. Got it. Nailed that. Then I start pulling the ownership group of all of those. And through doing some like deep dive on those owners and building relationships with them, I started to notice like certain personality traits show up of, what made these owners like tick, what got them invested in the community. What was the balance of like new owners coming into it versus long-term owners? Why were the long-term owners, and why are the new people moving in? Who are the developers that are coming in? Like you just have to play with that defined data set to start to see the trends. And it's unlike residential, you're going to see multiple trends show up because there are multiple experiences in the investment cycle that people are playing in. And you got to understand how to play with all of those. And I got clarity as I worked with my database more and more. I saw that about 67, almost 70% of the database were male investors. I really took it to heart if I want to invite more female investors into my database. So that helped me create another avatar. I would say probably well over, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but well over 70% of that database were above the age of 40. Very few were under 40. Even fewer, this was the interesting metric. There were more that were between 25 and 35 than there were 35 to 40, which I found like as a percentage ratio. I found that really interesting. And that was driven by a tech boom when Snapchat moved into Venice. They kind of drug alongside with them a wave of investors. Just looking at the data and thinking of it as data and then personalizing it of how do I talk to these specific like character profiles and how do I market to them in a way that they're going to look up and see my face in front of them and identify like that's the person who's going to educate me about this market.
I love that. And what you've articulated is something that I kind of like look at holistically and I try to preach to. It's the differentiation between demographics and psychographics. In that with demographics, it's like, all right, let me know a little bit about you, your age, your gender, where you are financially, where you are located on the map. But then, and maybe you can kind of dig in this a little bit more. It feels like you weren't really able to unpack your clients until you learned their psychographics. You understood what made them tick. what their hobbies were, what their, like the nuance of like what they like, what they dislike, things like that.
Well,
Right?
and that's the part on the commercial side that, you know, go back to the old faithful, smile and dial. I'm going to learn that by getting in a relationship with them, being able to like call them as much as possible, or like go and meet them, get belly to belly, not belly to belly, belly, but like get in a coffee meeting with them to see them face to face. That's going to be where I'm able to really start to like tick off these boxes of how much do I know them as a human. And the more I do that by default, the more I'm going to create experiences where they want to be in business with me. Because as true as it is for me that my clients and my friends and my friends are my clients, it's true for them too. My friends are my service providers and my service providers are my friends.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh man, you just dropped a ton of knowledge today. And I think this is going to be a lot for all the viewers to unpack. So I want to end with this last little note. And you touched on it. And I preach this to this day. I do this on a regular basis. You said that you did not know what you were doing in the very beginning. So you went out and hired a coach. Now, you, my friend, specialize in coaching commercial real estate agents. Can you tell the people a little bit more about your process with that?
Yeah, so I am a commercial real estate coach and trainer. I do those through separate organizations. I'm a commercial agent at Keller Williams with KW Commercial, and through the company here, MAPS Coaching, I'm actually a commercial coach specific for commercial agents. For training, which I would say, if you're new to commercial real estate or you're listening to this and you're like, Alicia, I haven't even thought about like why I would need to specialize, I would say training is probably your first step. And I'd check out nucleuscre.com. We've got an 80-hour commercial launch program. It actually starts again in August. We'd love to have you there for it. It's going to give you what you need to understand how to build your business on systems and platforms, methodologies, habits, and know-how that will make you more successful at the end of the day and give your clients a better experience. So if you're curious about starting your career in commercial real estate, or you've started one and you feel like you're just kind of fumbling along, get some training under your belt and then support that training with coaching as soon as you can.
Oh, I love it. I love that you said that. And a lot of just the success in a lot of the top producing agents, it's that they understand the foundational pieces. And you said it, the systems and processes. You got to live off the systems, right?
That's it, my man.
So good. So good. Alicia, thank you so much for joining me today. Is it cool if I get you back and we can go in on another topic on another day?
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Last little note, Alicia, you said Nucleus. Is there any other place that the people can find you if they want to reach out for you? And I'll drop the link below as well.
Nucleuscre.com, or just come stalk me out on Facebook. I'm pretty findable. Alicia Shepard.
All right. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. You're the best.
Back at you, friend.
All right. And before I wrap up, let me just end with this last little note. You guys know the deal. If you enjoyed today's video and today's conversation, make sure you click the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon, because it does appease the YouTube gods, aka the algorithm. And it continues to support the channel so we can make really awesome content just like this one. Thank you so much in advance, and I'll see you guys next week.